Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of DC Legends Bizarro Style. Today I'm joined by two guests. Well, one is my co host, and the other is a very special guest, the original OgreBarbarian, alongside Bizarro, of course. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Goodbye, everybody.
And there they are in all their splendor and glory, as always. So, we are going to be talking today about stun teams, and it's basically this whole series is the Synergy series. So, let's remind the people what Synergy is, Bizarro, once more.
So synergy is just the idea of finding characters that not only work well individually, but complement each other as a team so that they perform better as a team.
Fantastic. So, if you guys, in case you guys missed it, there is a episode that we did before, a Bleeder episode, alongside, of course, me and Bizarro. Both of us, we launched that episode, and it was pretty successful. So we decided to turn this out into an entire series. So our special guest for today is none other than the original OgreBarbarian. So let's get to know Mr. Ogre, shall we? Is that okay if I call you Mr. Ogre for today's episode?
You can call me whatever, just not late for dinner.
Okay. Alright, so would you like to ask the first question, Bizarro?
Yes, sure. So when did you start playing DC Legends, Ogre?
3 years ago, right around Thanksgiving, right after the game had launched. So like
Wow.
about 3 weeks in, 3 weeks into the game launch, like the actual launch.
So you were really original because you were there right at the start.
Yeah, I'm only about 3 weeks out from like as far back as you can go to like full launch rather than just beta.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's a long time. So another question we actually had was like, I mixed up these questions because the first question I was supposed to ask, but no worries, I'll take the second one. So who are your favorite characters, Ogre?
Okay, so it's no secret that I love bleed characters because I love damage over time. That being said, all of them, Chemo being the number one because he's been the GOAT for so long since the beginning of the game. He was the original like joke character. I kind of took that as a challenge because that's the kind of person I am, and I made him a superstar in his own way with the Chemo Versus series that I did for a long time, where he would take on pretty much all of PvE by himself. So I had a lot of fun with that. And
I enjoyed watching those. Those were a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I'm glad because, that's why I make them. As long as people enjoy them, then we're good.
Yeah,
And,
I remember watching those too.
He's my only rebirth character to date. So,
Nice.
just because I wanted him as my profile picture, and then they reworked Silver Banshee and Red Hood, and they both overtook him now, so I'm sad. Now I'm getting But as far as other characters aside from Bleeders, I really enjoy a lot of the Titans because I grew up watching Teen Titans, like many of us have.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, now that the Beast Boy rework makes him amazing, I really have been enjoying him. And then obviously the Lex Luthor rework has me just going hog wild with him right now. Even under Beard, he's been performing really well.
So the attachment to bleed characters, is that because of the damage over time, or is there something else that attracts you to bleed characters?
No, like in any game that I play, I tend to gravitate toward the damage over time. So, like, it's more just I like damage over time
Right.
than a lot of these characters individually, per se.
That makes sense.
Right.
So I know you just returned to the game. What made you return to the game?
Like I said, I left the game because of health reasons, and now that those health reasons are getting much, much closer to resolution, as in that I'm only about a week and a half out now from my surgery, it kind of felt right to come back and explain why I left. The game has gotten a lot more interesting and entertaining by taking that break. Like, the game had gotten stale, So taking that break let me step back a little bit, let me reevaluate, is this game still fun? And when I came back to it and started playing again, I'm like, yeah, the game is still fun. It's just I was having no fun because I was so frustrated with some of the other stuff that was going on.
Well, we're glad you came back because I've always enjoyed your videos. You've got a good sense of humor, and so I'm glad you came back to the game.
Well, thank you. I try to be funny where I can, and I try to use humor that's relative to, topics or whatever.
Yeah, me too. I was telling Tuditron, I commented on one of his videos, and I was like, I remembered you too, but I told him specifically that he's one of the funniest, and you're probably one of the other funny ones too. Because our videos, they don't contain a lot of comedy, but you guys bring a lot of comedy to it, so I enjoy like the funny moments in your videos.
Well, I mean, this is a game. You have to have fun with it, right?
Absolutely. So, any other questions you want to ask, Bizarro?
No, I think we covered it.
Okay, so we're talking about stun characters today. So we have a sheet attached that will be posted as a link at the end of this video in the description below. That'll have all the characters and whatnot. And we are going to list all the stun characters by affinity. So we have 3 affinities in the game: energy, physical, and mystical. And let's ask Ogre about his favorite energy characters.
Did you want to list them before we...
Yeah, why don't we list them first? And I'll take, if you don't mind, I'll take energy and physical. And do you want to take... Well, actually, I'll take energy and mystical. You take physical, Galahad, because I know you like physical characters.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
All right. So the energy stun characters are Batman, the Dark Knight, Bizarro, that's me, Black Lightning, Brainiac, Captain Cold, Gorilla Grodd, Hal Jordan, Hawk Girl, Killer Frost, Martian Manhunter, Superboy, and Superman. For the mystical characters that can perform a stun, you have Aquaman, King of Atlantis, Ares, Donna Troy, Shazam, Silver Banshee, Spectre, Vixen, and Wonder Woman, Defender of Justice.
Alrighty, those are the energy and mystical. Let's get into the physical stunners. We have Bane, we have Big Barda, Black Canary, Booster Gold, Catwoman, Joker Damaged Goods, Riddler, Scarecrow, and Superboy. Which Superboy
Connor
is
Kent.
this? Connor Kent.
Connor
Kent. Yeah, Connor Kent. Okay. I keep mixing up the 2 Superboys. But yeah, there you go.
That's pretty normal, I think.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, okay, Bizarro. So, or actually, let's ask Ogre first since he's our guest. So what do you think about your favorite energy stunners, Ogre?
Well, obviously, you have to say Bizarro, because he's a leader, and he's our host.
I actually didn't listen to him. Offend me if you don't put him on there.
I actually like him a lot, because his stun is on a fairly short cooldown with a 70% chance to do it, and even if it doesn't stun, it gives us a couple of speed downs, I think. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's true. If you have the legendary, it gives the speed downs.
And in all honesty, that's a fairly solid move when you consider some of the percentages and some of the other things that characters do with these things. Speed downs on a stun is really powerful. It just makes it that much longer that they have to be stunned. Couple that with a little bit of meter control, and they could be stunned for a very long time. And, that's a really good way to win a match, is by removing a character from it.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And then as far as like the ones that I'm really sold on though, Killer Frost, like she is absolutely the best because her stun is on a very short cooldown when you have the legendaries and she starts proccing. It also adds the speed downs and turn meter down. Like it's a really powerful stun when you start looking at it, and she gets turn meter ups when people get stunned and like heals and like she gets really out of hand when stunning starts happening, and she can possibly stun like a whole team by herself, depending on what else support you have. So she's really powerful, and especially with her rework, she hits really hard too now. So, and then the other one would be Hal Jordan, because it's very, very easy to meet his gate, and it's a 100% stun. So those are, and also removing a bunch of buffs is really good too.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, Hal. He's my second favorite comic book character, and in the game he's just fantastic now. So Bizarro, since Ogre took the energy characters, would you want to continue with the mystics?
Well, I was going to say what some of my favorites were too for energy.
Share everybody's favorites.
Okay, let's list everybody's favorites. Okay.
Yeah, because I agree with 2 out of the 3 with Ogre. I think the number 1 stunner in the game is Killer Frost by far, for all the reasons that Ogre discussed. And in fact, I have 9 rebirth tunes, and she's one of my rebirth tunes because I do feel she's such a valuable character. I have seen her do massive damage to Man-Bat, and there's not a lot of characters who can do massive damage to Man-Bat because of his resistance to critical damage. So I had her as my top energy stunner. I had Hal Jordan and Brainiac as sort of vying for 2 and 3, depending on what I need. Because part of the way I assess the stunners that I like is not only just their ability with stun, but what else are they bringing to the table. And all the stunners I chose from energy have 100% chance to stun with very little gating. The only gating that there is among the 3 that I chose are Brainiac requires to be shielded in order to issue his stun on his 3rd move, and he even has the 60% chance to stun a second character. And so I've actually, with the combination of Brainiac and Killer Frost, I've been able to do 3 hits out of Killer Frost off of a stun from Brainiac, because she can assist him, plus get the 2 throw her ice spear twice for each of the stuns. So I've seen her throw the ice spear as many as 3 times off of working with Brainiac. So those are my 3 choices.
Right, those are all good choices, and I agree with those. Me personally, I'm not a big stun character type of guy, or player, I should say, but I chose Batman: The Dark Knight. I know, before people crucify me in the comment section.
They're not going to crucify you, because he's honestly one of the really good ones if you have him in the right situation.
Absolutely. This was going to be my point. He is very situational, though. It's if the enemy is taunting. These days, in today's meta, you do have, say, a Power Girl or a Donna Troy or Taunters on the enemy team. So in today's meta, I think he would be fairly useful against, of course, if people are taunting with their legendary upgrade, that is. And he has a 100% chance on that. That being said, my second, I would go with Brainiac, just similarly to what Bizarro said. I wouldn't elaborate much on that, because everybody knows how Brainiac works. And my third was also going to be Hal Jordan. So it was a toss-up between Superboy and Hal, but I prefer Hal because he's just more reliable that way. So those are my 3 picks.
And just something to point out, Bizarro, you did say that only the one had gating, but Hal Jordan also has the same gating of being shielded for his thing.
Oh, okay. Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't realize that.
I mean, he gets it pretty easily, so
yeah.
It's easy to miss, so I don't blame you on that.
I think it's because I'm always pairing him with Hal Jordan that I always think that he doesn't need it, because he has it anyway with Hal Jordan.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's a very easy to get thing, so you just kind of skip over it. So.
Yeah.
Right. Alrighty, so now that we've got the energy characters out of the way, let's go for the physical. Or do you guys want to cover mystics first?
I know you like physical, so we can go there.
Okay. That didn't sound right, but anyway, let's continue.
Anyway,
you want to get physical?
You want to get physical? Well, here you go.
Get
physical.
Exactly. There we have it, guys.
Olivia Newton-John has just joined the show.
Classic. So I'm going to kick off the physical ones. For physical, I'm going to go with, of course, Big Barda. She has a 35% chance plus a 5% chance per stamina up, and when she gets going, obviously she goes crazy. People, like, I've seen her, well, usually against Power Girls, it's a 50-50 toss-up, but she can win against heavy hitters like that. Other than that, I would go with Bane, who's got a 100% chance if he's mending, but that is only if he's mending. But Bane, at the lower tier levels, he's usually mending, unless you bring a person who has heal immunity. Then, of course, then he gets wrecked, say against Black Manta or Red Hood. And,
to be fair, that doesn't stop him from using the stun, though. He still has the mend.
He still has. You're absolutely right, Ogre. He still has the mend, and he still does the stun. But yeah, other than that, I would go with Catwoman as my third. Yeah, just because she's reliable. She has a 100% chance, and she doesn't need a qualifier to do her stun. So, yeah, those are my 3 picks.
Good choices.
Go ahead, Bizarro.
So, you want to go next, Ogre?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So, we had a lot of overlap, actually, Galahad. My first choice was Catwoman for one of the reasons that you said, and then there's one additional reason I like Catwoman, which is that she actually purges buffs on her stun move. And the thing that's nice about the purging of the buffs is the purge occurs first before the stun, which is really valuable. Which means, as far as I've ever used the character, I don't think she can miss the purge, and I don't think she can miss the stun because the purge happens first. I also picked Big Barda like you for the same reasons, and I think it's because Big Barda brings so much more to the table besides just stun. And then the last one, who is a more recent addition to the game, is I picked Superboy, Connor Kent, because he has the 70% chance with the legendary upgrade. He is, I think, a good addition to physical stunners. He wouldn't be my first choice, obviously, among a group of physical stunners, but I do think he's a good addition as a stun because he's more, that percentage is a lot more reliable than some of the other physical stunners in the game.
Right, all good choices. And one thing I meant to mention is that I did take a little bit of break from the game, so I haven't used Superboy yet. So maybe that's why I got confused. I was like, new Superboy, Connor Kent. But yeah. Anyway, Ogre, continue with your picks, please.
All right, so I think you guys make some really good points, and Catwoman is, again, I think probably the best of the physical stunners. And I think, again, it's because of her utility. And I think that's what you want in a stun character. You want that high utility. Same reason you bring Hal Jordan, you're bringing Catwoman. Purge all those buffs, get the stun in. Like, they fill very much the same role as far as that's concerned. And then the other one, again, Bane, just because he gives himself crit immunity, he gets himself overhealed really easily, he gains strength ups, he gains a lot of tankiness, and he can be really hard to take down. And that stun is on a 2-turn cooldown, even if he is a little bit slow. So he can really mess up a team if he gets that stun off in that way. And the last one I'm going to pick is going to sound really awkward to you guys probably. Joker Damaged Goods. And the reason that I pick him is because he has no gating whatsoever, doesn't require anything, and it's a 2-turn cooldown. He's decently fast, and his if he starts applying bleeds, stuns pair really well with bleeds because it does exactly what you want to do. I'm removing you from the equation for now. However, you're still going to gain your turn meter and still take your turn to take that bleed damage. Also, on top of that, his passive, if you have the upgrade, does purge as well. So he has a lot of utility that a lot of people overlook.
Those are good points. When I was putting together the list of all the stunners in the game. I almost forgot about him. I knew he had a stun move, but when I revisited it, you're right. It's really valuable, and I wonder if he ever gets a rework, and maybe even if that rework is just sort of a evening him out on the power creep, I think he will become more valuable in that regard. So that's a great pick.
Like, I've already had an idea for how to rework him. It's just fix his 3, because it's garbage.
Yep.
It's too random. Like,
Yep.
I'm okay with random, but his is literally a roulette. I'm going to do 1,000 damage. I'm going to do 100,000 damage. No. Pick something in the middle there and do like 10,000.
Yeah, I agree, especially when your RNG sucks like mine.
Exactly. And then he doesn't need that leadership. It is garbage.
Agreed.
Other than those, like, for the most part, his other 3 moves are great. His passive is great. His stun is amazing. Fix the legendary on it, though. That is garbage. And his basic is actually really good.
Yeah, those are good points.
Yeah, I've never ever thought about Joker the way you just portrayed him, Ogre. That's fantastic, actually.
Like again, I'm gonna pick characters that are a little awkward sometimes because people are like, oh, they're garbage because everybody says he's garbage. Yes, but have you actually looked at what they do? And have you tried?
Yeah, and in fact,
I've used him quite a bit because he's a bleed character.
And hearing your arguments too,
I would very underrated.
I agree, and hearing your arguments too, I would probably back off of Superboy, either for Bane or for Joker Damaged Goods, because hearing the two of you describe those 2 characters and why you selected them, I actually think you convinced me that they are better selections.
Oh yeah, especially Bane. Like Ogre mentioned how he gets going. Like he's like a snowball, right? It starts at the tippy top of the hill, and then as he rolls down, he just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, I agree.
And I figured out how the 50% is calculated because it's 0% for my Bane and 100% for the computer, which averages out to 50%.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
So that's how that's calculated.
Oh yeah.
Should we move on to Mystical?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move on to Mystical. So let's Ogre start this one, kick this one off.
Alright, well, big surprise, my favorite Mystic Stunner is Aquaman, King of Atlantis. And the reason that I like him is because it's gated behind the opponent having 3 bleeds, but if you have his 3 all the way upgraded with that legendary point, he applies 4 bleeds, and it checks itself when it does that, so that's really cool. And again, stuns pair really well with bleeds because it does exactly what you want it to do. Removes them from the equation for a second, lets the bleeds trigger. Not only that, he also gets really tanky, and he's good at supporting your team because of the crit immunity and everything else. So he's just a good all-around support character, which is exactly, again, what you want with somebody who has a stun.
Agreed.
I think, secondly, and this is mostly because of her versatility, and she's also a bleeder, but Vixen is only a 65% chance to stun, but she can literally use that move as if it was a basic because of the way her kit works.
Yep.
And a 65% chance on a move that has no cooldown, essentially, and the fact that it also gives her 6 stamina ups every time she uses it, she can get really out of hand given the opportunity. And it also stacks bleeds on top of that. So, I mean, again, it's really, really powerful when you put it that way. And then as far as my third pick, it's really a toss-up. I'm not really sure about who I would pick third, because I don't think any of the Mystic Stunners really offer enough, in my opinion, but that's just me.
Yeah, I had trouble with selecting Mystic Stunners too. But maybe when you hear my pitch for one of mine, maybe you'll agree with my pitch.
Yeah, go ahead, Bizarro.
Well, that is the point of this, isn't it?
So my number one choice was Donna Troy. And part of the reason I chose Donna Troy is because she actually has 2 moves that can do a stun, her basic and her third move. And even though the basic is on a low percentage chance of that event occurring for a stun, it occurs often enough, and plus she can retaliate with her basic. It starts to have enough chances that it will occur more often than one would think on the basic. And then she has a 60%. Sorry?
Isn't it like 35%?
I saw when I looked at it, I had it as 20%. Not, I might have it wrong.
Oh
in
no,
my
I
notes.
think you're right. I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of her. Never mind.
Yeah, the third move has a 60% chance, but can go as high as 90 if you have the number 3 upgrade, and there's a bit of a qualifier to get it to 90%. But I find the two of them together happen often enough to make her a pretty solid stun addition. And then she has so much utility for the team in the sense that she gives more cooldown to moves, which can help even more with somebody like Killer Frost or Hal Jordan when you're using them. And then she's great for the defense on a stun team. So that's why I chose her as my number 1 Mystic. My number 2, like you, Ogre, was Vixen. She's similar to Donna Troy in the sense that she has a lot of HP, so she's got really good survivability. The 65% chance, and like I think you covered it very well by saying there's no cooldown on this move. So that one's really good. And then I had a hard time choosing a third one, and I think it's only because I don't use a lot of these other mystics very often, like Ares and Shazam, Spectre. I don't use those characters very often, but I find your argument for Aquaman, King of Atlantis, very compelling. So I would, in hindsight, I would choose him as my number 3.
You know what? Now that you mention him, I actually think Ares would be my number 3 because of how it works. If he's enraged, he has a 60% chance to stun. And again, it's his basic, so as long as he's enraged constantly, which guess what, is 2 can enrage him pretty easily and give him like death immunity, and he's a super tank, and yeah, blah 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 blah. He's probably my number 3 pick.
Yeah, he's one of those I just haven't messed around with enough to say anything, so I take your word for it on that, because he probably is really valuable.
I haven't messed with him a lot either, but like looking at it on paper, it's gotta do something, right?
Yeah, especially when it's on a basic.
Oh yeah. So you guys have very awesome picks. Like we've mentioned before, that a lot of the mystics aren't good stunners. So mine are pretty similar to yours, except for the last one. My first was Ares because of how he works with being enraged, and he's tanky, and he has a 60% chance, so that is pretty good. It's above average. It's above 50%. I don't like tunes that have a 50% chance of doing anything. That means it's hit or miss, so I always go for the ones who have a 60% chance. Other than that, that being said, Donna Troy is my second pick, and like Bizarro, he did a fantastic job of explaining how Donna Troy works, and so did Ogre, so I'm not going to go too in depth in that. But my third would be Shazam, because I use Shazam a lot. And he's one of my main mystic tanks because my Donna Troy is L2. So he has a 60% chance if overhealed with his legendary upgrade. And if you pair him with somebody, say for example like Black Lightning, he gets that even faster. So he has a good chance, I would say, to stun. It triggers for me, I would say, 60% of the time, just like the ability mentions. But those are my 3 picks: Ares, Donna Troy, and Shazam. But I will say that Ogre has mentioned a lot of good things about Vixen, and I might try her out. I haven't leveled her up enough to use her, but I might just level her up enough and pair her with some bleeders and see what she can do. So that being said, those are my 3 picks.
Shazam's a good choice because he's a fast character too.
And honestly, that overheal is real easy to hit, especially when you consider the new SSS Lex. Like, that could be real easy.
That's a good point.
Oh yeah, I haven't tried. Like I said, I took a break from the game and I just came back today, and everybody was raving about Lex Luthor, and I was like, okay, so they finally made SS Lex good.
Yeah, you're like, is this the same Lex when I was playing last time?
I know, right? No, it's about time.
Like,
though.
the funny part is, he hasn't even changed that much. Like, they just upgraded everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I've seen, they just upgraded.
I think the best thing they did, not to get too far off track, but is taking away that 50% health requirement, because he was so weak, that 50% health requirement would go away so quickly, and especially with somebody like Wonder Girl around, there's no way he would work as a character.
Yeah, there's one other thing that I noted. He can actually trigger his own leadership now. He used to not be able to.
Say that again?
He can trigger his own leadership now. He used to not be able to do that. He used to not be able to do that, so that's a pretty big change.
That is a good change.
Oh wow, I did not know that. See, you learn something new every day, ladies and gentlemen. But with that being...
And knowing is half the battle!
I know, right?
Yeah.
Knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
Knowledge in this game is key, guys. And Ogre and Bizarro...
Nerds. We've been nerds all our lives, it's okay.
I know. And Ogre and Bizarro have fantastic knowledge, so learn from them as much as you can. And with that being said, we're going to go and move on to stun compositions. So what are the best stun comps that you guys put together? I, however, have not used any stun comps because, like I've mentioned for like the 10th time today, I just came back to the game. So this is an open ballpark.
Fine,
go ahead, guys.
You're fine.
We'll keep a running
do you want
counter.
to take the first one, or you want me to take my first one?
You go ahead, Ogre.
Alright, so the one that I've actually used, and is, I don't bring it out a lot, but it's the Bleeder stun team. It's Vixen, Aquaman, Joker Damage Goods, and then usually somebody like Red Hood, just for that little bit of meter control and some buff purging. Even now with his rework is even better, but like even before that I was using it. And it obviously it depends on what you're facing as to which one of those three you take as your leader, because obviously you're not taking Damage Good as your leader because he sucks as a leader. But with those three stunners and the little bit of meter control that Red Hood can do if he's your leader, you can usually lock down a couple of characters and let the bleeds do their thing, which is, that's what I do. So
That's a team I have not tried, but I am going to have to try that one. The one that I like, and I switch out the leader on this depending on how fast I want my team to go, is I'll either have Hal Jordan or Brainiac in lead, and then I'll combine them with Donna Troy, Catwoman, and Killer Frost. And I have found that team to be very successful. In fact, I know that's one of Hate Mail's favorite comps for a stun team. He's put a lot of resources into building that stun team.
I was going to say, Hate Mail has been commenting on that one a lot, although I think he swapped out Catwoman for Booster Gold at this point.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Just for the if he needs against Wonder Girl.
Yeah, actually, I've done that too, although Booster Gold's a little bit more unreliable because only 50%. He hits so hard that he is a really good addition to a stun team, especially if you're dealing with Donna Troy on the other side.
Oh yeah, I've seen that too. When I use Booster Gold against Donna Troy, he just takes her off the field. He hits really hard, yeah. And if you have him at L5, he's even better.
Oh, and I completely forgot to mention this while we're talking about characters. I want to give an honorable mention to the worst character in the game, Yellow Lantern Sinestro. His leadership actually cares about characters getting stunned.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I totally forgot about Sinestro.
It's not worth talking about other than that, but...
Well, and Silver Banshee too is also a good counter to stuns. She has a bit of an ability.
Anti-stun, which is great. Because her passive, the first one I think, is if somebody gets stunned, her whole team gets stun immunity and some other buffs. Yeah.
So what do you think about stun teams with the current meta where there's so many Hal Jordan teams out there which have the debuff immunity, which means you can't really stun them? What do you think about that, Ogre?
I actually don't think it's as much of a problem as we think it is. Because if you look at characters that can purge, that have their stuns, they usually purge before they stun.
Very true.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stun, because I haven't tested it all the way through, but there's also a lot of AoE purgers, like Batman World's Greatest Detective. And honestly, Batman World's Greatest Detective, great teammate for stunners who have long cooldowns on stuns, and he can reduce those. That sounds really good to me too. So, like, stun teams are plenty viable, I think. It's just you have to play a little bit smart.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to admit it. I've brought in Wonder Girl sometimes to get rid of debuff
And that's,
immunity.
that's a thing. That is a thing. I was just going with World's Greatest Detective because he's usually a little bit easier to get.
Yes.
She is available in the store, guys, by the way. Wonder Girl.
I don't care.
I know you guys hate her, but for the
No, it's funny because I actually have my Wonder Girl at 67. She's a Titan, so I was building her up anyway. So, like, I just have never actually brought her into a battle.
Nice. So for those of you who are like me and think like Batman and do whatever it takes to win and don't pull punches like Superman does, get Wonder Girl.
She's one of those I love to hate.
And she's plenty fast enough, so, I mean, she does do the thing that you needed to do when you needed to do it.
Absolutely.
But that's why I did like Catwoman, because Catwoman, like we said, she purges the buffs first and then applies the stun, so she can still work even against a Hal Jordan team.
Oh, yeah.
Oddly enough, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Hal Jordan also work that way?
Yes, I believe so.
So yeah, you have options still. Hal works against Hal. Surprisingly.
Of course. We have like 90 plus characters in the game now, so yeah, we have a lot of
We're
variety.
well into the hundreds, buddy.
Yeah, into the hundreds. Yeah,
We're
you're
well
right.
into the hundreds.
Yeah, speaking of which, just as a quick note, there are 29 stunners in the game total.
That's a lot of characters.
That is a lot of characters.
Yeah, and a lot of variety to choose from, depending on if you guys don't go for like pure meta teams. Like I tried not to go for pure meta teams, but yeah, at the end of the day, Ogre, by the way, he's fantastic at going for non-meta teams and just coming up with
What
team
is this
comps.
meta you speak of?
Exactly. He doesn't even know what the word means.
I was so ignorant when I first started. I thought meta was referring to meta-human. I'm like,
great.
meta-humans? What?
No, it's funny because I play Magic, so I know what a meta is. I've always been one of those people that try to like operate outside of it. So whether it's for Magic or for any game whatsoever, I do use meta characters occasionally when they're appropriate. I don't use them when they're not appropriate.
Nice. So what do you think about the Hearthstone players as a Magic player?
Hearthstone? I think it's a great game, and they've done really well with it, and it doesn't cut into Magic at all, and I know a lot of my players that play it, so, I mean, it's one of those games that I wish Magic would have pulled their head out of their bum a long time ago and done that, but they didn't, and hopefully Arena will do that, so.
Spoken like a true gaming politician, ladies and gentlemen. I know, right? But no, Ogre's right. But anyway, not to detract from the game, but any closing thoughts, gentlemen, on stun teams?
I think it's one of those things, if you're going to build a stun team, you also want to look at what supports that. Don't just look at bleeds, don't just look at stuns, don't just look at whatever you're trying to do. Also look at what supports that. And again, that goes back to my World's Greatest Detective comment. He supports it really well in two different ways. Those are the kind of characters you want to augment your team with so that they can, be successful. Because if you try to build a straight stun team, it may or may not work. So you want to augment it and give it the best chances that it can.
I agree with that. There's no need whenever you're building a team built around a certain category like stun to have every single character be stun, because like you said, you're going to need other utilities, whether it's removing debuff immunity or something else. You don't want to think purely stun. What else are these folks bringing to the table?
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that part. One thing that I do love about DC Legends, as compared to like other similar games in the genre, is that you do have that balance. You need a tank on the team, you need a damage character, you need a healer or a utility, and all these, they fall into that. Yeah, lots of variety. Anything you want to add, Bizarro? Anything more about stun teams?
No.
Alrighty, so with that being said, I will bring today's, or I should say we will, sorry about that. I'm tired, guys. We
Just
will
hit the gavel.
I know, right? As I have my solo YouTube channel too, so I'm used to saying I'm sorry about that. We will bring today's episode to a close. Thank you very much to OgreBarbarian. And thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate his knowledge and input. And of course, because of Bizarro's knowledge too. And yeah, thank you for watching. And we will see you next time.